Perfect. So I just want to welcome everyone. So we're doing a back to school cooking class. So I am Alicia and I'm the team leader of Eastside Eagles, so a Newcastle team, and we are also spread across to the Hunter Valley. We do have Ange and also Sharon going to be demonstrating with us today. So we're going to run you through some very simple back to school snacks, like a healthy salad, some bread rolls, showing you how to create yogurt. But these things can also be adapted for back to work lunches. So it doesn't just have to be back to school. You can adapt them for yourself. There will be a few variations of the recipes that we do today. So you can vary them up to make them school friendly and things like that. But we're just going to run you through some really simple, quick, easy school snacks. And then I'm also going to share with you a resource that I've used for years now, which is a resource by the Road to Loving My Thermomixer. And she has a whole lunchbox ideas PDF, I suppose, that will give you lots of inspiration, and they're all freezable, which is really great. You're able to make all of your school snacks or back to work snacks, freeze them and take them as you need as well. So I'll be sharing all of that with you today. So I'm just going to stop sharing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another spotlight. So I'm going to demonstrate for you first. We're going to make a healthy salad. So I'm just going to turn a laptop so you can see the screen. No. So the salad that we're going to create is the quinoa with mixed greens and yogurt dressing. So I'm going to run you through how to make the yogurt dressing and then also the salad making as well. And then a little bit later, we'll share a video of how I've created the yogurt in 2 different ways. So you'll be able to see some inspiration of that. So we're just going to start cooking on the screen of the Thermomix. I'm going to start with our yogurt. So I'm just going to grab that now. I want to show you. So this is one way to create yogurt, and it's in your thermo server. And so this is our thick and creamy yogurt made in the Thermomix. So we're just going to place 200 grams of the Greek yogurt into the bowl of the Thermomix. Do this without making a huge mess.
Really dark, Leash. You can't see it all that well.
On the front or in the Thermomix?
How do you want us to see?
Can you see 2 screens for me?
I'm on my phone, so I can only see one, but you might be able to see 2 if you're on laptop or something on gallery.
If you swipe your screen, like swipe it again, can you see both screens?
Oh, yeah, that's better. Yeah. It's still just really dark. That was all. Yeah, cool.
Cool. All right. Now we're going to do some cumin. So this is the yogurt dressing to get us started for the salad itself. So with your cumin, if you don't have ground cumin, what you can do is buy the seed, and you can actually mill it in your Thermomix. I'm going to do some lemon juice. Now, just for convenience, rather than buying whole lemons, I just buy the lemon juice just from the supermarket, and I just use that. But again, it is personal preference. Now, with a liquid, rather than getting a tablespoon out if you didn't want to, 20 grams of liquid is equivalent to 1 tablespoon. So you can bring up your scales on your Thermomix and do that as well. And I'm going to add in some honey. So a tablespoon of honey. And then 1 avocado. And then we're just going to mix all of that together. got your yogurt dressing. So just get you to transfer into a bowl.
It's a little bit dark.
Which screen?
The bowl with the yogurt and that, it's all a little bit dark at the front there. The light's kind of at the back rather than the front, yeah.
Just trying to think how I can, 2 seconds. Maybe I'll just take this one off. Can't see that one.
Hey, that looks good.
Just do that. Okay, so we've done our dressing. We're now just going to clean and dry the mixing bowl. Now, if you didn't want to, because all we're doing next is the quinoa and the vegetables, if you wanted to, you could leave that dressing in. I'm just going to add more flavour, but I'm just going to follow the recipe tonight and just clean and dry the bowl. So I think the next step is so we've done that. So it's 600 grams of water. So all I do at the sink is I just roughly measure the water. Just you've got your indicators inside your bowl. So 600 grams to just go a little bit above your 500 gram mark on your bowl. And then we're going to place in the quinoa. So your quinoa, you will have to soak it for at least 5 minutes and rinse it like you do your rice until your water runs clear. And then we're just doing like a pinch of salt. I'll rinse off my lid.
Just pop that recipe up in the chat too, Leisha, so that people.
Thank you. Then what it asks you to do is to place your varoma onto the Thermomix and weigh it, which I've already pre-done that. So we've got to weigh in our broccoli first. So I couldn't get broccoli, so I just got broccolini. So whatever you can get your hands on. So I've just done that. So I've washed it, placed it into the varoma. So it's about 300 grams. And then it will get you to insert the varoma tray with frozen broad beans. So again, done that. So as you can see there. And then we just need to secure the varoma lid. And then for 15 minutes, we're going to cook the quinoa, steam the broccolini and also the broad beans. And then we're going to then assemble the salad. So that's how easy it is just to make the salad, is to do the dressing and just the steaming of the vegetables. And then everything else is just tossing it together, which I will demonstrate very soon. So I think we're going to go over to Shaz now. So I'm just going to spotlight her. There we go.
Hi everyone, welcome to our cooking class. January already, and we're ready to share some recipes with you. Look, some of them you might already know if you've had your Thermomix for a while, but there's always hints and tips and things that we'd love to share. And today we're making a variation on bread. So I'm just going to go into my week where I popped my recipe and waiting for it to wake up. It's called Easy Everyday White Bread. So I'll open that one up. And of course, before you start a recipe, you should always have a bit of a look at the ingredient list. Make sure you've got everything on hand before you get started. And I like to look at not only the nutrition panel when it comes to the main meals, but the utensils that you'll need and some hints and tips that are always available. So tonight it's about putting it into a loaf tin. That's what that recipe is for. I've got a loaf tin here, but I'm not going to use it because the other option there in the hints and tips is to turn it into bread rolls. So if you haven't done any bread roll work, or if you'd like a few more ideas on that, we're going to get started with that now. So just starting the recipe, it says grease that loaf water is the first ingredient. You just need cold water. I've got filtered water on my tap, so I like to use that. In goes the water. Always pour and pause. Give yourself time for the scales to catch up. Lovely. Pressing next. And we're after some yeast now. Just grab the spoon. Sorry about that. There it is. So it's asking for 2 teaspoons of dried instant yeast. I like to buy this little round box of Lowen. It's just a nice easy one to store in the pantry. Or you can use 20 grams of fresh yeast, whatever suits you better. So rather than level teaspoons, I like to go a little bit bigger because I do find that you need some extra help sometimes proofing it, or my yeast might be sitting around, might be a little old, so I like to use a little bit extra. Now, it does say a teaspoon of caster sugar. Oftentimes in bread, that's optional, whereas the salt isn't. You need the salt. I've just got some nice raw organic sugar here, which is quite fine. So I'll go for that instead of milling it down. I don't feel it needs it tonight. And we're just making a quick dough. But the first thing is, lids on, 2 minutes, 37 degrees, speed 1. What does that do? Well, that just brings the water up to temperature without killing the yeast. So it's just 2 minutes of water and yeast together, mixing together and waking up that live yeast. And there was something else I was going to share with you about that, but I've forgotten. Does anybody want to add anything to that, Alicia or Angela? No, everyone's gone quiet on me. That's okay. And I guess you're all on mute over there in the customer base, but I'm hoping that we can share some good things with you tonight. This particular bread is not one that I've been making. Over the years, we've always made the whole wheat one, where we use 100 grams at least of whole wheat or other grains, and we grind them at the beginning of the recipe, turn them into a coarse flour. Just 1 minute on speed 10 would do that. And then we keep going with the recipe ingredients for that simple dough. And I find that that's got a really nice texture to it. I do like to have whole grains and multigrains in my recipes as much as I can. So tonight's easy white bread is similar to one that people have been following on a Thermo Mama page. I think Alicia called it. So this is very similar, and it's already guided cooking. So that's advantageous if you like the idea of guided cooking rather than having to do it manually. So it's all here on Cookadoo. And you can make it into a loaf tin like this, and it's worthwhile getting a good quality one. There are kitchen shops that will sell one like that. It's a nice heavy duty pan. The one that we have in the mix shop, you have this one, and then it's the same one with a lid on it. They're great as well. So you can go either with the lid or without. This particular recipe is really light, white, fluffy bread. So there is quite a bit of proofing involved. And that means that there is, time in that recipe that we're probably going to shortcut tonight just to show you some of the things that you can do. So next ingredients, now that the water and the yeast are together, 20 grams of grapeseed oil. Now, if you want to use olive oil, you might get a little bit of a different flavour in your bread, but don't be put off if you haven't got grapeseed oil. I'm sure you can use another one. So we're just adding 20 grams there. There it is. And Then we need our baker's flour. Baker's flour is different to plain flour that you would make a cake with. It has a higher gluten rating, and it's higher. It just gives a better texture and consistency than a plain flour. It really is better for the job. And it is quite a big loaf. 600 grams is more than I'm used to working with. Some of the other loaves that I've made are more like 400 grams. So we're going to go past that tonight.
It's also higher in protein, Shaz, and you get
That's
better
what I was trying to think. Thank you.
Yeah, and you get a better elasticity from your baker's flour.
What was that?
You get better elasticity from your baker's flour.
That's the one. It all escaped me when I was trying to say it. A couple of teaspoons of sea salt going in. So just make sure that that's a level teaspoon. You don't want to overdo it with the salt. Normally it's just one, but this is quite a big loaf, so that's why they're asking for 2 tonight. Now, I don't normally use bread improver, so I went out and I had to go looking for it in the supermarket, and I did discover that it's not that easy to find. At some point I had to ask a service representative at the supermarket to help me find it. He said, there's only one more left on the shelf if you want to get 2, but I was happy with my one. So 2 teaspoons going in. I had a bit of a look at the ingredient list. There is a little bit of yeast in bread improver and a few other ingredients. So once again, I think it's because we're making a long proof fluffy white bread that they're adding a few extra things to really make that a winner. Popping the lid back on.
The sachets, Shaz, you can buy the in that same brand, you can buy the sachets which have got the yeast and the bread improver.
Yeah, my husband found that one. That was the yeast and bread improver together.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ange. Now just turning the dial because it says 6 minutes for proofing. And at this point, we can just let it do its own thing. Always remember to just push it back away from the edge of the bench while it's doing that kneading work, because it's doing quite a lot of, if you had to do it by hand, it would take a lot longer. So while we're looking at that, I have made one about, when was it? About an hour ago. Yeah. So that we could start proofing it, so we could work with it in a little while. I'm going to leave it a little bit longer because the next step asks you to pop it in a bowl, put a tea towel over it, which I've been doing. And when it comes up a little bit more, then we'll just punch it down and shape it out into some bread rolls to pop in the oven. But there's just a couple of other steps. So I'm happy to hand over to the next dish if someone's ready. What do you think, girls?
Yep. Do you want me to start, Alicia?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll change over spotlight. There we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Ange and I'm based in Singleton. So today I'm going to do, the first recipe I'm going to do is just using the basic muffin mix recipe from Cook I Do. So it's a great recipe because it's really versatile. You can add in other ingredients, you can add in other flavors, you know, to suit what you like. The recipe in Cook I Do actually does have a couple of variations, which you could try out. I think there's white chocolate and raspberry, and a couple of other variations. But tonight, the variation I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn them into chocolate chopped chip muffins, because they're the ones my kids like, and they're the ones that will fill up my freezer ready for the kids to go back to school. So going into Cook I Do. So I've just popped my oven on to preheat it. I've already got my trays all light. Now, I got a little bit organised and I kind of popped everything into the bowl already just to sort of shorten that process a little. So I've got 300 grams of self-raising flour, 150 grams of plain flour, half a teaspoon of bicarb, 200 grams of brown sugar. And what we're going to do, and I've also included some cocoa powder. So I've put a good couple of tablespoons of cocoa powder in there to give them that nice chocolatey flavour. So what we're going to do first is, this is basically what would be classed as sifting your flour. So it's kind of mixing all that around and getting it sifted and getting it ready to go. So we're just going to turn it around 5 seconds on speed high. This just alleviates the need for having to sift the flour completely. Some recipes you might see will do it on turbo. You might see that. So again, doing the same thing. It's sort of sifting flour and making sure there's no lumps and all that sort of stuff in it. So I've got 2 eggs ready to go in. Pop them in. I've got 370 grams of milk ready to go. Oh, it's always better if you spill some down the side, isn't it? And then I'm going to put in 180 grams of vegetable oil. Now, I know a lot of people probably aren't super fussed on vegetable oil, but I do know from making muffins regularly for my kids that it does keep them softer and it does keep the moisture in the muffins. I freeze them all, so we wrap them individually and pop them in the freezer. So I do find the oil does help. Probably olive oil might be a little bit strong in flavour, but you might prefer to use grapeseed oil or something like that if you don't particularly want to use veggie oil. Now, this is where you can add in your other flavourings. So I've got my chopped chips ready to go, but I might just mix this part first and then I might pop my chopped chips through. So 10 seconds and we're going to go around to speed 4. So this is going to do the initial mix on that. So I've got a mixture of milk chocolate and white chocolate. So it's about 150 grams. The recipe that I normally use is 150 grams. So I was going to go similar to that. So the good thing about using your guided cooking is that I can now go back. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to pop my chopped chips in. Now that actually didn't quite mix all my flour and everything around, so that's okay. So I'll give it a hand mix. Just to mix those chopped chips through. Now you could go back, you could pop it on for another 10 seconds and pop it on reverse to get those mixed through a little bit more evenly. And I would probably do it so that way the flour is really mixed through quite well. And so there we go. There's my chopped chip muffin mix ready to go. It's like that simple, being able to do it that way. So it says it makes 16. So I've got all my muffin pans ready to go. So I'm going to put them in and it tells me then to bake for about 20 minutes. So I'll get that all ready to go and in there. And yeah, then I'll show you when they're all done. How's your bread?
Got Shaz to do the dip, or did you want me to do the video?
Yeah, whatever you want to. How's Shaz going with her bread for her kneading?
Yes, my bread's ready to do the next step.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to do
that? Oh, yeah. Hello. So we've just done a 6-minute kneading and now it says to lightly oil a ceramic or glass bowl. So I asked the girls, what's that all about? I'm not used to using that because normally we just, don't worry about it when you've got a beautiful Thermomat. So I've got my Thermomat out. If you were doing the bowl, yes, I like my little spray bottle. I would just spray the oil in and then put the dough in and cover it with a tea towel. But when you've got a silicone mat, doesn't have to be the Thermomix one, but if you've got one at home, just turn, can you see that? There you go. Just turn it upside down when you've got the dough ball in there and give it a little tweak here just to move the blades. And you just pull that last little bit out. It comes out so easily. And when you've got the dough out, you don't really have to do anything else to it. It just wants to have a rest now. So we'll wrap it up like this. It just says lightly oil and then cover with a tea towel. So what we're going to do is just gently wrap it up and put it to one side for a little while. And the next step says, leave it to prove until it doubles in size. And that's why I was saying that I thought I'd better start one a little earlier because it takes an hour and a half for that large dough ball to double in size. So we can either do a little bit of work with it now or we can wait a bit longer. So what have you got on next, Alicia?
I can play the video of the yogurt making.
That'd be great. Just give that a little bit more time and then come back to me for a bit of
yeah.
bread roll work.
So
Thank you. And I've got that dip when you're ready to go.
perfect. Hopefully this works. So let me just. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
So does anyone have any questions about yogurt after watching that video? So it is something that you definitely need to follow the recipe to the T, and it is something that you need to have patience with because a fermentation process, you know, it's like a science experiment. So it needs to be, everything needs to be legit with the recipe that you are following. There is many recipes out there. I will share with you the recipes that I've found that have helped. with both ways, so I'll share them in the chat. But what I'll do, I think Shaz is still on Spotlight, so we'll change over to her to make a dip.
Can I just do a little bit more with my bread dough?
Yep, whatever you want to do.
Yep, thanks. So I'm just pretending that I've done an extra half hour on that 1.5 hour proof. So it's not quite as high as I would give it. So really you don't start this recipe late at night. You start it earlier in the afternoon so that you can just, you know, do other things, get dinner ready while things are proofing. So it just says at this point to put this soft dough, which is the one I did make earlier, and it's absolutely beautiful. Look at that. It's so nice to work with. It says to put it back in the bowl and give it a 30-second spin or a knead. It'll be a knead. And while it's doing that, that's the last step before the next proof. And I wanted to show you some things. So when that dough comes out, I'll be able to work with that. Tonight, I didn't use that bowl or that, you know, that ceramic glass bowl idea, but I did actually use the thermostat. Now you can heat these up if it's a cold day and, you know, warm it up with some warm water and dry it out. I just lightly sprayed it with oil like it suggested, and I put the lid on it for a while, and that was a nice way to proof the dough tonight while I was doing other things. So it's just saying to transfer it into the loaf tin, but in this case we wanted to make bread rolls. So out it comes again. So you just imagine an hour and a half and then 30 seconds just to mix it up again a little bit. Now you've got this beautiful dough ball. I guess that's rather than punching it down, they've put that extra step in there in the actual Thermomix itself. So when you want to make some bread rolls, you just break it up. I like to pull it out like this. I hope you can see that. There we go. This is where your spatula comes in handy as well, because you're going to be separating it once you've pulled it out. There's lots of things you can do with your dough, but don't forget when you're working on a silicone mat, never use a knife, just your lovely soft spatula. So we're going again, we're going to divide and conquer by cutting up our dough ball. And I won't do as many as it does suggest 10 out of this particular recipe, but how about I just cut that down and give you a little sample of how it works. And there's a few ways. So the one I use at the moment is just a round roll, or you can pull it out a little bit. This one was shown to me by Grace, who taught me everything when I first got started nearly 15 years ago. You just pull it out like that and then tuck it under so that when it rises, you know, it's not going to burst open. It's like under there. So you get a nice little ball. And the trick, let's see, there's a few others. So if you go into a little log like that, then you can stretch. It's a very stretchy dough. It's a beautiful dough to work with, but you could easily make a little French knot like that. And that's another way of making your bread rolls. And one other way that I like to work with is just to pull it out a little bit longer. This one is stretchier and it takes a bit longer to work some of those fun things that I'm used to doing. But yeah, just make a long log and then roll it up. And you can either make a little snail if you're working with the kids, or you can just close it up and you've got another little bun there. And the trick there is to keep them all together. So when you've made your little balls, keep them all together so that they kiss each other, just like scones when they're rising. And that way they're helping each other rise rather than just flattening out in the oven. So I'll just show you what I'm going to put that on. Here it is. So I've got an oven tray and I've got a smaller silicone mat. Thermomix also makes that smaller one, which is great for the oven. So I don't have to use baking paper or oil up a tray. I just go straight into the oven, and that's what I'll play with. So I'm going to put all that aside and we'll get into the tuna dip. How's that sound, girls? I'll come back to that. Okay. And I'll just show you what that actually says. When you finished it, you just get your little brush, and it says to put a bit of water on the brush, go across each one with water, and then sprinkle with sesame seeds. So I'll do all that in a little while for you. And the trick here is that I had to get a couple of other things going earlier, because in this one, that bread dough, if you were doing it in the bread tin, takes up to 3 hours to get to the top of the tin. Bread rolls are a lot quicker, so that's going to make our job a lot easier tonight. But I've also pre-done some bread rolls to show you so that we don't have to wait any time at all. And it just says to pop it in a cold oven instead of a warm oven. That gives it more time to rise as the oven's warming up. And it's the same for the bread rolls, 25 to 30 minutes in the cold oven at 200 degrees, and bring it out when the bread sounds hollow when you tap it on the underside. So that's an interesting step there. Allow it to cool in the tin and then transfer onto a wire rack. Slice your bread and serve. So I don't know if you can see that, but there is a picture there of that beautiful easy white bread. And they're going to be really yummy bread rolls. But now we're just going to move into my week again, my cooking for today. Now we're going to open up the... Did anyone have any questions there, Alicia, about the bread? Or Angela, anything you want to add? We'll come back with the bread rolls soon.
No, I don't think so. We shared the recipe link so that people could see that.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to put together a dip. Now, I was asked to do a dip so that you could have a think about some of the things back to school. And I'm not sure that everyone's going to be all that keen when I say I'm making tuna dip. You know, that just may not be everybody's favourite. But don't turn up your nose too quickly. I've been making the tuna dip for years. And the reason I chose it tonight is because you can actually use it like a sandwich filling, because it's such a nice recipe with mayo and cream cheese in it. And it does come up really nice. Now you can add other things to it like curry powder, so you can spice it up rather than just having it plain. And there are so many other dips that I'd love to talk to you about, but we'll get this one started. Start cooking. So it's asking for some flat leaf parsley, just leaves only and to taste. So you put in a little or a lot or none at all, totally up to you. So that one's straight out of the garden. And then we're popping in some walnuts. Now, if that was an issue, you'd have to rethink how you would do that, maybe sesame seeds or something that's not a nut. So 30 grams of halved walnuts going in. I'll put the last one in, a little bit more won't hurt. And then we need just one spring onion. So you clean it up, wash it up, trim it, cut it into pieces and pop some in there. There we go. And a pinch of salt is all we need. Not too much, don't overdo it. And it's asking for some pepper as well. I'd love to know who's made this tuna dip before and, you know, if the family likes it. You know, you could put it in as a sandwich filling or some scrolls. Now, popping the cap on, the lid. And 3 seconds speed 7. We know that I'll go to. Okay, so anything to do with onion, garlic, chili or ginger, the formula is usually 3 seconds on speed 7. So let's have a look at that. So that's chopped it all up, the walnuts, the parsley and the spring onions. And it's just asking us to scrape down the sides with our spatula to get it back down the bottom where we're going to be working.
That's a handy tip, Shaz. Didn't know about that.
You're breaking up on me. What did you say?
I said I didn't know that. That's a handy tip to know. 3 seconds on speed 7. That's good.
Yeah, that's the go-to. You'll notice that whenever you do a recipe, it'll always go speed 7, 3 seconds.
Yeah, true.
Okay, now, what's that?
That's true.
Okay, so now it's asking for 60 grams of mayo. So you can either make your own before you start this, or if you've got some in the fridge already that you've pre-made, I'll just re-tear those scales. I must have had the lid on when I teared them. So in goes our mayo. And the next one is cream cheese, a block of cream cheese. So I've got a Philadelphia cream cheese here. And the trick with using it in your dip recipes is to get it out of the refrigerator and let it soften a little bit before you get started. And just so that you don't overtax the blades on these hard, cold things out of the refrigerator, after they've softened a little bit and before you pop it into the bowl, just break it into about 4 pieces, just like that. Easy to work with. In it goes. So that's done. And then we just go lid and cap. Next. Now this says 12 seconds on speed 4.5. Okay, there we go. 12 seconds. That's not long. Okay, what does it say now? Scraping down the sides.
Please pop in the chat if there's any dips that you currently make now that you could possibly pop in a lunchbox or in a work lunchbox.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm just about to talk about a few dips, but I'm not sure if I can see the chat. I'm a bit technically challenged. So now we're asking for some tuna. So we've drained the can of tuna like it asked us to, and we'll just put it in. I think I put in way too much. Maybe it was a big can instead of a little can. I should have put the scales on and weighed that. But the catch is I do like the tuna, so it's not going to bother me. Cap goes on, lid goes on. And next. And speed 5 for 15 seconds. And I'm going to bring up all the other ideas for dips to talk about. They're just in Cookadoo. And when I wake up in Cookadoo, I can go to my recipes. And in my recipes, it says dips. Now, what does it say? That was quick. And it says serve immediately. So I will get it out of the bowl into a serving bowl in a minute to show you. I had a little bit of extra tuna in there. And so it does need a little bit more of a mix. I'll just pop it back on. The trick there is to just go back a step and go again. And next, serve immediately. So I'll just wait for that lid to unlock. Put it in the bowl. You can all see that, I hope. So I've got quite a lot of dip because I did use the larger can. Now the fun part is that when you do a cooking class online, you don't have to share the food. So I get to try all this food home alone. So there's a lot more in there, but I just quickly wanted to showcase to you a yummy dip. And if that's not your thing, I had a look at Cookadoo last night to pick out some of the dips that I really was keen on having a look at myself. I'll put this back here. All righty. So just briefly, I found some really good ones, including a few favorites. So layered Mexican dip. That's one that you may not have thought of, but that's such a winner for any entertaining that you want to do, with the refried bean layers, the avocado layers, the sour cream layers, cheese, bit of tomato salsa on top. So then I was looking for some salsas as well, and I did find a few options there. But hummus, how about hummus? Who loves their hummus? Chickpeas, garlic, tahini, great flavors there. And look, not every Alicia's written me, she's loving the hummus. So the best basic hummus from the UK is one that I was looking at, but we also have some in our Australian Cookadoo filters. The capsicum and sun-dried tomato dip, thank you, Alicia. I was just saying that at the same time as you were writing it. That's always been a winner in Thermiland. So if you haven't tried the capsicum sun-dried tomato dip yet, you're missing out. And then along the same line is the basil pesto. Who loves the basil pesto? Can anyone share with us there? So I love the basil pesto as a dip, but I also love it with pasta and turn it into a meal with lots of Parmesan cheese. Now, don't forget, Leanne. Hello, Leanne. I didn't even know you were there. It's nice to see you on. Guacamole. Don't forget the guacamole. When the avocados are in season and well priced, grab a bunch of them and let's have a Mexican night. Why not? There's all kinds of other things there, like refried beans. Okay, it may not be a dip, but I added it in because, you know, you can make that Mexican layer dip with your refried beans, or you can just eat them as. I even found, when I found tomato salsa, I found one that said Navajo fry bread, which you can make really quickly and easily with tomato bean salsa. So that's a tomato salsa with beans in it as well. So another Mexican style. But how about the black bean mole, which is a black bean chocolate chili? Hello, where's that one been all my life? Salsa verde sounds pretty good to me, or a tzatziki, a nice Greek one with lots of yogurt and garlic and maybe cucumber in that one. And how about, I don't know how to pronounce it, chipotle, possibly, salsa. So there's a few American ones in there, and the good old herb and garlic dip from the demos that we used to do back in the day. So put your hand up if you've made the herb and garlic dip. It's always a winner. It's simple and quick with just some Philadelphia cream cheese and some spring onions, a little bit of garlic and parsley. I don't know, I haven't made it for a while, but that one is always a winner when you make that. So that's all I've got to say about dips. Who's next? What have we got on next? Vicky says great dip.
I'm just going to share my screen so you can see all the elements for the salad. So I hope everyone can see that quite clearly. So all we needed to do before when creating the salad, and the only elements that you need to do in the Thermomix is your broccoli or broccolini, your quinoa, and also your broad beans. So with your broad beans, you pop in cold water after they've been cooked and stop them from cooking. And then what you do is you take them out of the skin and you end up with the broad beans. So all we need to do now is assemble everything together. So it gets you in a bowl first. It gets you to pop in rocket and some dried cranberries, and then it gets you to drizzle olive oil. Now, if you're doing this for meal prep, I probably wouldn't drizzle with the olive oil unless you're about to eat it. So I would just leave the olive oil off for now. Same with the yogurt dressing, kind of take in a container separately. So then that way you're not making it all kind of wilter and go all yucky. So you've got your rocket and your cranberry. So pretty much all we need to do is just add everything in. So we'll start with the quinoa. And then we just need to toss all that. And we've got your broccolini. So the same. I've just got some tongs here so you can kind of make it more presentable. Now, if you were serving this as soon as you make it, you would have like a warm quinoa salad. But if you are taking it to work and you are prepping this as a meal, you could just definitely eat it cold as well. So then we're just going to add in our broad beans. I just want some of those cranberries back out, just so it gives it a bit of colour. Cool. And then we've got some shallots. And then the next step it gets you to do is it just gets you to dress it up again. So I've got some pepita or pumpkin seeds. Very wholesome salad. So if you are doing the new year, new me, this would be a great salad to incorporate into your weekly intake. And we've just got some slivered almonds. Now, again, you can create your own slivered almonds if you wanted to save some money. So it's just a matter of pre-soaking your almonds overnight. And then once they're soaked, the skin will come completely off, and then you can give them a dry, and then you can just cut them up into your pieces. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take you off the stand and see if I can turn the camera around. And then, yeah, there you can see the beautiful salad. So what's everyone's thoughts on the salad?
Sounds really yummy. I haven't made it before, but it sounds good. I reckon I'd give it a go.
If you're not a fan of rocket, you can also do spinach as well. So
yeah,
it's a different alternative. But yeah, we have beautiful green. It's pretty much a green salad. You've got your cranberries in there. Yeah.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes. Perfect. Well, I will switch over. I think it is it me again or you, Ange?
What we've just got my music bars.
There we go.
The music bars if you want to get them in the oven.
Yeah.
And then what's your last one?
Just the bliss balls.
Yeah, whatever.
Going to make some bliss balls, are you?
Ange is going to she's got her muffins out, and then she's going to go into her muesli, and then I'll go last.
Okay.
Yep, righto. So muffins are cooked. Now it ended up making a really generous 16 muffins, 18 muffins actually. I nearly could have got out my second 12-hole muffin tray and added another couple actually. I had quite a bit. They've risen up quite nicely, and they should be all good. So I've got them cooling down now. So my second recipe I'm doing tonight is the 5-seed energy bars. Okay, so these are also on Cook I Do. And I guess the idea of these ones is that you can send them to school, because a lot of schools, as we know, are nut-free. So trying to find those alternatives to having something that doesn't have nuts in it. This recipe does have sesame seeds in it. So I know at our school that we are also sesame free, so I can't send this to school with my kids. Not that they'd eat it anyway, it'll be for my snacks. But there might be some other alternative that you might be able to look into that might work the same way. Or if your school's not sesame free, then you're winning. So, and because it hasn't got any nuts in it, you know, it's only got the seeds in there. So it's a pretty healthy bar. So I'm just going to go start cooking. So I've already got the oven on, which I've already got going. Now, instead of using a square cake tin, what I've actually got is I've got my silicon bar maker from the mix shop, but I've also got this one here, which is another silicon style tray, which is also at the mix shop. And this is like a silicon loaf tin. So what I'm going to do is I find that it's really easy to be able to push it out with the silicon. It's a really handy thing to use, rather than having it cooked, bake it, and then, you know, trying to cut it up into your bars. At least this will give me, hopefully, if I put them in right, nice even bars. So we'll move on from that. But first of all, I need to mill some linseeds or some flax seeds. 30 grams of those to go in. So get those milled up. So 30 seconds on speed 10. So hopefully this will cut out with the sound a little bit. that's milling up the linseeds. It just turns them into a nice, more fine powder or fine, more like almond meal or something like that. Will be the same sort of consistency as that. And then we're going to add in, and again, I pre-prepared just to make it quicker. I've got 50 grams of chia seeds. I've got 100 grams of pepitas, 100 grams of sunflowers, 50 grams of sesame seeds, 80 grams of dried cranberries, 40 grams of shredded coconut, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm going to pop all that into the bowl. Also is a teaspoon of vanilla bean paste. I'm not very good at measuring. I just tend to just squeeze and see what I think. Then we're going to use 60 grams of maple syrup. Now it says you can also just use rice malt syrup, but I discovered I was a little bit short on both of those. So we'll see how we go with using 60 grams of maple syrup. And then 50 grams of rice malt syrup. So if you haven't used that before, I mean, it's a very similar consistency to honey. 50 grams of that. And then we're basically just going to blitz it again to get all of those ingredients combined. So then they can be then pushed into those bar molds. So 20 seconds on speed. So there's heaps of muesli, different styles of muesli bar recipes, depending on what you like. I know that there's a Skinny Mix's choc chip oat bars that I really like, that I've made regularly, which also are really great to make and freeze. They're a really good alternative for that sort of thing. There's also breakfast bars, all sorts of different ones. So I guess it's just finding those ones that you like the sound of, or that you feel that you can tweak and put the ingredients in that you like. So I think I'm just going to, so it says you pop them in and then press them down. So I'm going to do that. Do you want me to pass back to you, Leisha, so you can do your bliss balls?
Yeah. I've got another light, so I'm just going to put on both cameras and see whether or not it's going to work for me. Is that still dark on that one or not? Hang on. Just
better than it. That's better.
Yeah, that's better.
Is that better?
I think so.
And then if I add this, cancel. Add this. Can you see both?
Yep.
Cool. So the bliss balls that I'm going to demonstrate today are the hazelnut crunch bliss balls. Now, they do have walnuts and peanuts in it. But if you didn't want to do that, especially for school, you can do this whole recipe with sunflower seeds. It does have tahini in it already, which is pretty much sunflower seeds then create tahini. So if you're wanting to have a peanut butter alternative, you can use tahini. I'm going to do all peanuts today because I didn't have any hazelnuts. So you can just use whatever alternative you prefer. I have done cashews in the past and things like that. But when it comes to being able to take to school, you would need to do sunflower seeds in order for the kids to take it. But if you're using this as a snack for yourself to take to work or just have at home, these are a great alternative for a bliss ball or a protein ball. So we're just going to start now.
You've got to watch the tahini too for the sesame seeds. So again, if you're sesame free, the tahini.
Yeah. So I probably should have done what Ange does, because I think that's genius idea having everything already pre-weighed out and ready to go, but I'm going to do it step by step for you. So we've got 50 grams of flaxseed. Now, flaxseed you can just get from Woolies or Coles or in health food shops. Flaxseed is used in a lot of gluten-free baking and things like that. So if you're wondering what you would use it for. Now, it does say coconut oil. I don't have any, so I'm just going to do olive oil. Again, it would depend on what you want to do. Remembering out of your peanuts and your hazelnuts or any type of seed or nut, there is a lot of oil that does come out of it anyway. So you don't want to use too much oil. And then we're going to add in, so it's 100 grams of unsalted peanuts. We're going to add that in now. So pretty much the first step is you're going to make peanut butter. Or if you're using sunflower seeds, you'll be making tahini. So for 1 minute. Your Thermomix will sometimes make a noise that it's not blending or grinding or doing anything, just because it's up on the sides. I'm just going to scrape down that now. And then we're just going to, I'm just going to add a little bit more oil. And I'm just going to go for another 30 seconds. As you can see, it's starting to create like a paste. So we're going to add in 80 grams of, so 180 grams in total, because it will be 100 grams of your hazelnuts and 80 grams of your peanuts. We're just going to do 180. Cool. And I'm going to add in some pitted dates. So 90 grams of pitted dates. This is where we're going to add the tahini. Now, if you didn't have tahini and you needed an alternative because you don't like it and you're just having this at home, then peanut butter is fine. Just remembering, I'll show you here, when it's a brand new tahini, all of that oil is there. So you just need to give it a really good stir before you were to use it. So it's just a tablespoon of tahini. You can get hulled or unhulled. Honestly, it doesn't really make any difference, I don't think. There is probably a science behind it, but I just buy whatever. So Ange before was using rice malt syrup. Now I quickly ducked down to IGA today and I found brown rice syrup. So pretty much the same thing. But it's in a squeezy bottle, which I loved, because normally rice malt syrup is in a container and you've got to use a spoon and it can get quite messy. So it's just like squeezing out honey. And then we're going to add in honey as well. So I pretty much guesstimate when it comes to it, but it does say a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons. So again, whatever you prefer. And then we're going to add in some cocoa. just mixing everything together to create 10 seconds. See both. So then we're just going to roll the mixture into balls. Now, if you didn't want to roll your bliss balls into balls, then what you can do is you can press your mixture into a slice tray and make it as a slice. And then what you could then do, they are just fine on their own, like I'm doing now, but you can roll them in designated coconut. It does say you could use sesame seeds. So if you wanted to do sesame seeds, you could do that as well. Also on the image, it's got rolling it in cocoa. So you can just do all different outside flavor, whatever you prefer. If you did have like a chocolate protein that you do use, you could use that instead of the cocoa. So you're getting your protein content out of it. But remembering your nuts and your seeds, you are getting protein out of that too. Does anyone have any favorite bliss ball recipes that they're making at home now?
There's a new one in the Thermomix All Day Eats book, which is a peanut butter one that I want to try.
Oh, nice.
Got an apple crumble one as well.
Oh, delicious. There are carrot cake ones on Cookie Dough, and there's also the beetroot ones. They're really yummy. There's like a lemon, like a citrusy type of bliss ball, but yeah, there is heaps. And what I love, especially about this recipe, some bliss balls, when you are making them, can be a quite sticky mixture, which means your hands end up really, really sticky and dirty. But what I love about these ones in particular, because they are so oily from all the oil and the nuts and the seeds that you've just used, it just comes completely off your hands as well. So less mess, which is awesome. So if you are getting the kids to help out, this is a great recipe for them to do. I do it quite rustic, so if you are OCD when it comes to rolling your bliss balls, please look away. But you can use your kitchens, like your Thermomix scales, to be able to weigh to make them even if you wish.
I like how it says it makes 30 and you get to 20 and you think, how am I going to make 30?
Yeah. I just do them really big, to be honest. I probably could do them smaller, but time factor.
When you're ready, I'll show you some bread rolls.
Yeah, radio. Well, let me just, I'll roll this one and I'll quickly clean my hands and I'll switch the cameras over. Okay. Where is Shaz? There you are. Go.
Hi, back again. So we shaped out all the bread rolls onto the tray with the oven mat and popped a little bit of water and sesame seeds on top. And then proof time to really get them nice and fluffy and light. Turn on the oven, and 20-25 minutes later it's time to take them out. So with the magic of television or pre-made, I made these ones for you in advance. So that's my go at the everyday easy white bread recipe turned into bread rolls. And of course, if you wanted to make scrolls or little pizzas or whatever you want to make out of them, calzones, Vegemite scrolls. Yeah, there's so many other styles you could do, and there are other bread doughs that you can work with. This one is really popular now because it does make a nice, easy, fluffy white bread in the loaf tin. But you do allow, oh, thanks, Leanne. They do look nice, don't they? So I think my family will be enjoying those tomorrow. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about bread making tonight. If you want any other hints or tips, just send a message out to us. We're happy to help out. There, Alicia. And just while I'm still there, I did have a look at some of the recipes that I wanted to pop in my own archives here. So on Cookadoo, I've got a little section that my collection that I've called breads. We've got basic bread rolls. Now, for those that are gluten-free, I'm excited to see that there's a gluten-free artisan bread, and that one looks really nice. So anyone that's not able to eat the wheat bread, go back to Cookadoo and have a look, because there are new breads coming all the time, and some of the new gluten-free breads are really awesome. And there's a rye sourdough baguettes. There's all kinds of sourdough starters and information to get you going. Everyday sourdough loaf. Rustic loaf, that looks really good, the rustic bread. And the farmhouse white. There's also a keto cloud bread. So if you've never heard of that, that's just another little interesting recipe. And that one's more that's basically based on egg yolks and egg whites as well. So it's just a quick little recipe for people who are doing the keto style diet and cutting back on the carbs. And the only other one that I almost forgot to mention is the gluten-free Brazilian cheese puffs, which you may or may not have had at your own in-home demonstration. So they are really popular, cheesy cheese puffs, cheesy Brazilian gluten-free puffs, and they go really quickly when we make those. So that's all I have to share with you on bread, unless you have a question. Are you there, Alicia?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I'm just taking some photos.
Bread rolls. So what are we up to now? Have we covered all our recipes off?
Yes, we have. So I'm just quickly going to share. I was telling people before about the Road to Loving My Thermomixer. So I wanted to share don't want to play the video again. There we go. Cool. So the Road to Loving My Thermomixer, like I was mentioning before, has my ultimate Thermomix lunchbox guide. So there's over 200 recipes on there, and also printables for the lunch boxes. So like stickers and things like that you can get printed off, and also a meal planner, which is really awesome. She also has a collection, as you would call it, for hidden veg. So again, it will be the same concept of your Thermomix lunchbox guide, but it is a hidden veg guide. So if you are wanting to get some more veggies into daily intake for your children, you can hide it in things like cupcakes and all sorts of stuff like that as well. So what I might do is I will share that in a moment, but I just wanted to quickly just share with you. So this is what we've made today. So we've made bread rolls, or you could turn them into scrolls like Sharon was mentioning before. The basic muffins, which Ange showed you how to make those earlier. You've got your muesli bars, the salad, you've got the tuna dip, and also the bliss balls. So you can see, just by making a few different elements, you've got a full lunchbox to give lots of nutrition to the children or for yourself if you are going to work. But I thought I would just share that little cute image with you guys there as well. Where is?
How come I'm back again? I think I've showed all my things. I've been busily eating the tuna dip.
So does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask?
I think we've covered everything. We've done well. It's about quarter to 9.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Ange, have you got anything you need to show now? Are you all done?
It still needs probably 15 minutes or so in the oven. So yeah. I'll take some photos, share it when it's done.
No worries. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on a Tuesday night. I hope everyone's keeping safe and away from COVID, which just seems to be happening a lot lately. So I hope you've enjoyed all the recipes that we've made tonight. Reach out to your consultant if they are on here. If they're not, feel free to send me an email and I can get you in touch with your consultant, or if you don't have one, I can allocate you one. But I hope everyone goes out and makes lots of different lunchbox ideas. It's just about picking, 3 or 4 elements or dishes and then just kind of putting it all together. Everything is freezable, so remembering that. So your yogurt, if you're doing grated cheese, or if you're making muffins or bread rolls or anything like that, it can all be stored in the freezer. So that way you do have it for the full week and nothing is going off on you midweek either. Do you guys want to share anything, Shaz or Ange?
I think I'm happy with what I've covered off. I'm busily eating tuna dip and looking forward to the bread rolls, which I've got in the oven.
I was going to say you can put some tuna dip on your bread rolls.
Yeah, sounds like a plan to me. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Hope everyone has a great night and stay safe.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.